Rihanna's $36 million fashion dream that crashed and burned, imagine standing at the top of the world. You've conquered music. You've built a beauty empire that made you a billionaire. You're partnering with the most powerful luxury brand on the planet. And then, it all comes crashing down. $36 million. Gone. Just like that. This is the story of how Rihanna, one of the smartest businesswomen in entertainment, watched her fashion dream collapse right before her eyes. February 2017, Paris. Fashion Week. The lights dim in one of the city's most exclusive venues. Models walk down the runway in oversized denim jackets, deconstructed suits, and avant-garde pieces that blur the line between streetwear and high fashion. This isn't just another show. This is Fenty, Rihanna's first luxury fashion house. Backed by LVMH, the conglomerate that owns Louis Vuitton, Dior, and Givenchy. The same company that had never, in its entire history, built a fashion brand from scratch with a celebrity. Until now, Rihanna sits front row, watching her vision come to life. She's wearing dark sunglasses indoors because she can. Because she's Rihanna? Because at this moment, she's making history. She's not just a singer anymore. She's not just a beauty mogul. She's a fashion icon about to cement her legacy alongside the greatest designers of our time. But here's what nobody knew that night. Here's what even Rihanna probably didn't see coming. In less than 3 years, that dream would be dead. The brand would collapse. And she would lose $36 million in the process. How does that happen? How does someone as brilliant, as calculated, as unstoppable as Rihanna get caught in a failure this massive? To understand that, we need to go back. Way back. Before the billions. Before Fenty Beauty. Before she was the icon we know today. Robin Rihanna Fenty was born in 1988 in Barbados. A small island nation in the Caribbean where dreams feel both impossibly close and impossibly far away. Her childhood wasn't easy. Her father struggled with addiction. Her parents' marriage was falling apart. She grew up in a 3-bedroom house with her mother, her father, and her 2 younger brothers. Money was tight. Life was hard. But Rihanna had something most people don't. A voice and an unshakable belief that she was meant for something bigger. At 15 years old, she formed a girl group with 2 classmates. They got one audition, just one, with a music producer named Evan Rogers, who happened to be vacationing in Barbados. He heard her sing, and everything changed. Rogers brought her to New York. She recorded a demo. That demo landed on the desk of a young executive at Def Jam Records. His name was Jay-Z. And when Rihanna walked into that audition room at 16 years old, she didn't leave until she had a record deal. 2005. Panda Replay drops. It's catchy. It's different. It's Caribbean flavor meets American pop. The song climbs the charts. Suddenly, this teenager from Barbados is on MTV. She's on the radio. She's everywhere. But here's the thing. She's not a superstar yet. Not even close. She's just another teen pop star in a sea of teen pop stars. Disposable, replaceable, forgettable. Then came Umbrella, 2007. That song didn't just make her famous. It launched her into the stratosphere. Umbrella was everywhere. Every radio station. Every club. Every wedding. Every party. It was inescapable. And Rihanna transformed from a promising young artist into a global phenomenon. She was 21 years old, and the world was hers. But fame has a dark side. And for Rihanna, that darkness came crashing down on February 8, 2009, the night before the Grammys. She was dating Chris Brown, another young superstar. They were music's golden couple, young, beautiful, talented. Until that night, the details are public. The photos are public. Chris Brown assaulted her. And the world watched as Rihanna's private pain became public spectacle. She could have disappeared. She could have retreated into silence. Instead, she came back louder than ever, stronger, more defiant. She released Rated R, an album dripping with darkness and rage and vulnerability. Then came Loud. Then Talk That Talk. Then Unapologetic. Hit after hit after hit. We Found Love, Diamonds, Stay. She wasn't just a pop star anymore. She was a cultural force, untouchable, unstoppable. And somewhere along the way, Rihanna started to see beyond music. She started to understand something most celebrities never grasp. Fame is temporary. Music careers have expiration dates. But brands? Brands can last forever. And if she was going to build a legacy, she needed to own something. Something that belonged to her. Something that couldn't be taken away. 2017. Fenty Beauty launches. And it changes everything. Not just for Rihanna, for the entire beauty industry. She released 40 foundation shades at launch. 40, at a time when most brands offered maybe 15. She made inclusivity the centerpiece of her brand. Women of all skin tones could finally find makeup that matched them. The message was clear. Beauty isn't one size fits all. And Rihanna wasn't just selling makeup. She was selling revolution. The numbers were staggering. Fenty Beauty made $100 million in its first 40 days. $100 million. In 40 days. By 2018, it was valued at over $1 billion. Rihanna became the richest female musician in the world. Not from music. From makeup. She had cracked the code. She had built an empire. So when LVMH came knocking with an offer to build a luxury fashion house together, it seemed like destiny. LVMH is the most powerful name in luxury. They own Louis Vuitton, Christian Dior, Fenty, Celine Givenchy. They don't partner with celebrities. They don't build brands from scratch. But Rihanna wasn't just any celebrity. She was a proven businesswoman, a billionaire. Someone who understood branding at a molecular level. This was the fashion world's equivalent of a royal coronation. May 2019. Fenty Maison launches officially. Not just an online store. A full luxury fashion house. The first new brand LVMH had created since Christian Lacroix in 1987. Think about that. In 32 years, LVMH hadn't built a single new brand. And now they were betting on Rihanna. The clothes were bold, sculptural, expensive. A leather corset dress for $1,800. Oversized blazers. Deconstructed silhouettes. This wasn't fast fashion. This wasn't streetwear. This was high fashion. Capital F fashion. Rihanna poured herself into it. She was hands-on with every design. Every detail, every decision. This wasn't a celebrity slapping their name on someone else's work. This was her vision, her aesthetic, her dream. And the fashion world was watching, waiting to see if she could pull it off. But almost immediately, cracks started to form. The clothes were expensive, really expensive. And yes, Rihanna had a massive fan base. But her fans weren't LVMH customers. They weren't the people dropping $2,000 on a blazer. They were regular people who loved her music and bought her makeup because it was accessible. Fenty Beauty was revolutionary because it was inclusive. You could walk into Sephora and buy a Fenty lipstick for $20. But Fenty Maison. That was a different world. A world most people couldn't access. Sales started slow. Then they stayed slow. The fashion industry is brutal. Trends move fast. Collections have to drop on schedule. Stores need inventory. Buyers need confidence. And confidence was starting to waver. Behind the scenes, tensions were building. LVMH expected certain numbers. Rihanna had a vision that didn't always align with commercial reality. Creative differences, budget concerns. The pressure was mounting. Then 2020 hit. COVID-19 shut down the world. Fashion shows were canceled. Stores closed. Supply chains collapsed. The entire fashion industry went into crisis mode. Luxury brands that had been around for decades were struggling. And Fenty Maison, a brand that was barely a year old, didn't stand a chance. February 2021. The announcement came quietly. Too quietly. Fenty Maison was being put on hold. That's corporate speak for dead. The brand was done. Finished. LVMH released a statement saying they were focusing on Fenty Beauty and Fenty Skin instead. Translation: the fashion house failed. The dream was over. Rihanna lost $36 million. $36 million. For most people, that's generational wealth. That set a family up forever money. For Rihanna, it was still a devastating blow. Not just financially, emotionally. This was her dream. Her legacy project. The thing that was supposed to cement her place in fashion history. And it collapsed. So what went wrong? How does someone as savvy as Rihanna fail this spectacularly? The truth is complicated. First, timing. Launching a luxury fashion brand is hard in the best of times. Doing it right before a global pandemic. Almost impossible. But it wasn't just COVID. The brand struggled from the beginning. The price point was too high for Rihanna's core audience. The fashion was too avant-garde for mass appeal. It existed in this awkward middle space. Too expensive for regular consumers. Too celebrity-driven for fashion purists. And here's the brutal truth. Celebrity fashion brands almost always fail. Almost always. Victoria Beckham's fashion line has reportedly lost millions. Kanye West's Yeezy succeeded, but it was streetwear, not luxury fashion. There's a graveyard of celebrity fashion brands that crashed and burned. Because fashion is different than beauty. Fashion is seasonal. It's trend-driven. It requires constant innovation and massive infrastructure. And even the best designers in the world struggle to make it profitable. But here's what makes Rihanna different. Here's what separates her from every other celebrity who failed in fashion. She didn't make excuses. She didn't blame anyone. She didn't spiral into public drama. She acknowledged it, processed it, and moved on. Because at the end of the day, she's still a billionaire. Fenty Beauty is still thriving. Savage X Fenty, her lingerie line, is still growing. She's still Rihanna. Still one of the most powerful women in entertainment. And in 2022, she did something nobody expected. She announced she was pregnant, and then she performed at the Super Bowl halftime show while visibly pregnant. She hadn't released an album in 7 years. 7 years. But when she stepped on that stage, the world stopped. Because Rihanna doesn't need to prove anything anymore. She's already proved it all. The collapse of Fenty Maison stings. There's no denying that. $36 million is $36 million. But in the grand story of Rihanna's life, it's a chapter, not the ending. She took a risk. She swung for the fences. She failed, and she kept going. That's the real lesson here. Not every dream works out. Not every risk pays off. Even when you're brilliant. Even when you're Rihanna. Sometimes, things just don't work. But failure doesn't define you unless you let it. Rihanna didn't let it. She dusted herself off. She refocused on what was working, and she kept building. Because that's what legends do. They don't quit. They don't hide. They adapt. They evolve. They survive today. Rihanna's net worth is still estimated at over $1 billion. She's still one of the most influential people on the planet. She's a mother now, a businesswoman, an icon. And yes, she lost $36 million on a fashion dream that didn't pan out. But she's still here, still thriving. Still proving that even when you fall, you can get back up. So what's next for Rihanna? Will she ever return to fashion? Maybe. Probably not luxury fashion, but never say never. Will she release new music? Honestly, who knows? She's been teasing an album for years, but at this point, it doesn't even matter. She's transcended music. She's built something bigger than songs. She's built a legacy. The story of Fenty Mason is a cautionary tale. A reminder that even the most successful people face failures. Even billionaires lose millions. Even icons get humbled. But it's also a story of resilience, of courage, of someone who dared to dream big even when the odds were against her. Rihanna will be fine. She always is. The question is, what can we learn from her story? Maybe it's that failure is part of the journey. Maybe it's that taking risks is always worth it, even when they don't pay off. Or maybe it's simply this: you can lose $36 million and still be a legend. Because at the end of the day, money comes and goes. But legacy? That lasts forever. If this story moved you, hit that like button and let me know in the comments what you think about Rihanna's fashion gamble. And if you want more deep dives into the lives of the world's biggest stars, subscribe to Luminoir. Because we're just getting started.